Welcome to a parallel project training APM Project Management qualification podcast based on the APM Body of Knowledge 6th edition. You should be using this in conjunction with our e-learning, study guide and potentially a tutor-led course. For more information, please visit www.parallelprojecttraining.com.
Hello, welcome to this Parallel Project Training podcast with John Bolton and Paul Neighbour. We are talking about communications. Can you hear me?
No.
And the contents of this section are: describe the key contents of a project communications plan, explain the benefits of a project communication plan, explain the importance of effective communications in managing different stakeholders, identifying factors affecting communications.
There you go.
Here we go. So this communications plan is the first part of the project management plan we've met.
Yeah,
on our journey so
it's
far.
not necessarily. They don't necessarily come in any order, do they? But this is just part of the PMP, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the first one that we've talked about in the podcast,
Yes,
unless
that's
you've
right.
done them out of order, in which case it's the last.
In which case, yes. So this is part of the PMP,
yes,
really.
yes.
So describe the key contents of a project communication plan.
Well, very simply, it's just who you're going to communicate with, when you're going to do it, what you're going to tell them, how you're going to tell them it, and what do you expect them to do as a result.
Yes.
Who, what, why, when, how.
And have you done it?
Have you done it?
Yes, no. Communication complete or not?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, what do you expect to happen as a result? I mean,
Yeah.
if nothing happens, then there's no point in doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So communication is always for a purpose, isn't it?
And they're usually done as a little Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
I've seen it on an Excel spreadsheet. Who
Nice and simple template.
That's
for it.
right,
That's
really
right.
simple. So this is the stakeholder I want to communicate. This is what I want to communicate to them. This is how I'm going to do it.
This is when I'm going to do it,
This is when I'm going to do it.
and this is how I know if it's
So
worked or
let's
not.
do an example then. So we choose a school. We're building a school.
Building a school.
Bigger.
All right. So
Making it
communication plan might be to local neighbours. Okay.
Next door neighbours.
So next door neighbours, because there's going to be a load of building work and loads of lorries and stuff, right?
So
So
that's the who.
who am I going to communicate to? It'd be the neighbours. You'd probably be more prescriptive, so it'd be numbers 1 to 17
Okay.
and 34 to 86.
Yeah.
And then you'd say
The how.
What am I going to? How am I going to communicate? I'm going to send them a monthly newsletter,
Okay.
a 2-page A4 sheet of paper that gives them a brief update on where we're at and what we've been doing. So when we're going to do that monthly, yeah. So we're going to do it every month or every
Yes.
quarter or
Yes.
whatever. How are we going to do it? We're going to distribute it by hand. We're going to print out loads of copies on the photocopier and just put them through the let boxes. What do I expect to happen as a result? I expect them to be more positive about what we're doing. How am I going to know if they're more positive? Well, perhaps every 6 months we'll do some little survey or something, or we'll invite them into the school to show them what's going on, and we'll ask them to fill in a questionnaire.
Yes.
Or something like
So
that.
for each stakeholder, you could have a couple of lines, could you? So for neighbours, you might also invite them into a...
Yes, that's
town hall
right. That's
meeting.
right. That's right. So you might invite them into the school every year to show them progress, give them some hard hats and welly boots, and take them around.
Good.
So that's I think that's kind of, a lot of people think this is a bit blindingly obvious, but I think it starts off with a stakeholder appraisal, really, and we'll talk about that a bit later on. But once you've done a stakeholder review, stakeholder analysis, you do a communication plan, because there's no point in identifying who all these people are unless you do something about them. And you generally want them to change their attitude in some way or maintain their attitude if they're positive. If they're negative, if they're really anti what you're doing, you want to try and convince them it's a good idea. Perhaps. You don't necessarily have to. Some people you just ignore, really.
Yes, because they're never going to change their mind, are they?
Yeah. So, that's basically it, a communication plan. The reason you do it is to make sure that people are on side. They're not ignored. People feel properly informed. And I suppose in the communication plan, you'd also include monthly reports, wouldn't you? You'd say, I'm going to have a monthly review with the sponsor.
Yes.
So
that's right.
although the sponsor is the sponsor, they're also a stakeholder.
Yes.
So they still have a right to be informed and kept up to date.
Yes.
So there's no reason why you can't put it in the plan.
Yes. In fact, in our communication plan, gosh, you've sparked a memory there. We used to have how the roll-up of reports. So how teams used to report to work package managers, now they'd report to
That's
the project
right,
manager,
that's
and now
right.
the project manager reports to the sponsor,
That's right.
and the dates that would all happen by. So So I expect actually they get quite complicated communications
Yes, that's
planning for a large project.
Yes.
Because it's all about the flow of information up and down.
That's right.
Good. So I've got my head around what those are. Benefits of a project communication plan.
But people never know what's going on.
People know what's going on. Less chance of miscommunication.
Yeah, and bearing in mind, communication generally costs money, so you make sure it's properly directed.
Yes.
If you're going to go and brief your sponsor, who happens to be in San Francisco,
Yes.
you need to be fully aware of the consequences of that trip and the costs of that trip, and exactly what you want to get out of it.
So in here you also said you fail to understand the stakeholders' needs. So if you
that's
don't
right.
communicate to them properly, then you can get the requirements wrong, or you can get mixed messages with acceptance maybe.
That's right.
So you get. I think users are quite an important group to communicate with. Or stakeholders don't know where to go for data, so they're relying on incorrect reporting information.
Yes. That's
Rumour and you know what the rumour mill's like in
Yes.
most organisations.
Yes. Yes.
Good. The importance of effective communication in managing different stakeholders.
That's more or less the same as the benefits in my book.
I think that is.
Yeah,
I
because
agree.
I think what they're saying is different stakeholders have different needs. So
Yes.
you do your stakeholder analysis, and that gives you a clue as to who the different ones are. So you'd have, if you've got a mass market, you're not going to go and interview them all. You're not going to spend quality time with 500 people. But if you've got one really key individual, then you may want to go and have a one-to-one meeting with them.
Yes.
And so I think it helps you understand the relative kind of bias that you apply, because you've only got a limited amount of time and money to do all this. So I think
Different stakeholders will get different levels of attention depending on their power and interest.
and bear in mind the sponsor signs the project management plan off. Therefore, they've approved the communication plan. So if the communication plan says that we're going to meet with this person every 3 months, and the sponsor agrees that, then if that turns out to be the poor decision, then I guess the sponsor's part of that, and we'll ought to give you support in sorting it out. But so, yeah, dream on. But I think there's that to it as well.
Yes, very good. Identify the factors affecting communication. So this is things like barriers to communication, geographic noise, distance, jargon, emotions.
I came across a
Physical
document the other day
barriers,
called
time zones.
I came across a document the other day called the GTA. Did I tell you about this?
No,
The GTA. It's called the Guide to Acronyms.
oh, really.
GTA. Oh, it's brilliant.
Oh,
People
really?
think, yeah. Education's full of acronyms.
Oh, I know.
Trying to shut the wall. You
Yes.
spend more time worrying about what the acronyms mean. If you're sitting in a meeting, you look at this report and it's got 4 acronyms that you don't understand what they are.
You don't understand anything.
And then people keep talking and they don't stop. So you can take it on board, and work it out. So, and eventually, if that meeting is a success, if you've worked out what the acronyms mean, not what you're supposed to be talking
power,
about.
don't they? They use that to keep the outsiders.
That's right.
Outsiders out.
That's right. The military are dreadful for it, and the schools are as well now.
Yes. So I think we've done those.
Yeah.
And how can they be overcome? I think there's a nice description of those in there.
Yeah. So I mean, things like you say, time zones and geography, distractions. People have got other priorities, and I used to run a training course. You remember this up in, I won't say where it is, but it's in the Midlands, and they used to test locomotives outside. So you'd have these great big 24-cylinder diesel engines with clouds of black diesel smoke wafting across and on a hot sunny day you'd have all the windows open. Even we just have to go have a cup of coffee. You just couldn't do it. It's just hopeless because
Yes. No. That used to be a really favourite question, barriers to communications, but I've not seen it for a while. So
yeah, it tends to be more factual, doesn't it? They're quite interpretative, really.
yeah, I quite liked it because you could, if I say it's a barrier, it's a barrier.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You waffle on to your heart's content.
Yes, it's quite an easy one. So that was describe the contents of a communications plan, explain the benefits of project communications, explain the importance of effective communications for different stakeholders, and identify the factors affecting communications.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Well, that was nice, short, sweet, to the point. It's 9 minutes, John.
jolly good.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast and found it informative. To order a study guide, e-learning, or a tutor-led course to go with this podcast, please visit www.parallelprojecttraining.com.